Well, hello there, and welcome to the Two Man Dance podcast. I'm your host, Murf Meyer.
And I'm Tom Levin.
There he is. And what are you listening to here? Well, it's the fabulous fantasy football podcast about the greatest fantasy football league in the world, the Two Man Dance. Two-team fantasy football league, but we just wanted to introduce ourselves here at the top and a little bit about the show.
Yeah, we are recording this after recording the first couple episodes, just so that there is a little tiny bit of context in case anyone's listening, so they have the slimmest idea of what's going on. So this is a two-part episode of the Two Man Dance draft. The first part is a conversation that took place 1 week before the draft, where you desperately tried to give me the first pick so that you would not have to select Christian McCaffrey.
This is true.
And part 2 is the draft itself, which has been heavily edited and is approximately 3 hours less than how long the draft actually took.
Yes.
Most fantasy drafts, almost all of them have a clock. This is the exact opposite of that.
That's right.
Where we will sometimes spend, 7 minutes making one selection, something like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, sometimes more.
There's a back and forth here, which is part of the draft, is always the gamesmanship. So, yeah, there's a lot of chatter.
Many of the pauses have been cut out.
A lot of the
some of that's still in there, some of it's gone.
Sure, you don't kill all your darlings. What about our team? What are we looking for here as far as the breakdown of our rosters? And
so there's 16 rounds. We each get 16 players. A key element of the two-man dance is that we each only get 5 waiver moves per season.
Those 5 are precious moves.
Yes. This year, we have a little wrinkle where we each have a 6th waiver that can only be gotten through trade. So I have your 6th waiver, you have my 6th waiver. The only way the other person can get their 6th waiver is through some trade.
Yes.
Which may or may not come.
Spoiler!
May or may not come into play immediately.
The loser of the previous season gets the first pick in the draft the following season, so that will be me.
Yes.
This year, as Tom is the champion.
Yes.
Tom's got the ring, and he's off his high horse, and I got to throw a haymaker.
I just want you to know I've taken the ring and I've put it in a drawer, and I will not look at it again.
Yeah, you've had your moment.
I had my moment with it. I've put it away. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to get into a Rocky III situation.
No. I'll tell you what I like is that I don't have it in my home, in my state. Anywhere near me, which gives me, there's a longing for. I feel like I now need to get serious here and get after it because I do miss it. So yeah. I like the idea of it not being here. There's no complacency this year from Big Sloppy.
I just had a thought, and I think this would be crossing the line in terms of Jinx stuff, but I had the thought of just sending it back to you right now.
Oh, return to sender. Return to sender. Address unknown. No chance you're getting me to sign off on that. I'll treat that like a fucking bag of anthrax coming in the mail. You think you can play those games?
No, as you should.
I'd also like to see you make that postal stage because we've both already agreed we're not the best at getting down to the post office and getting something out the door.
No, it would take me 27 weeks to get in the mail anyway.
So it is in your possession, yeah. And that's how the draft will begin. I'm at number 1. Anything else we need to set the table here for this draft?
I think that's all the context we need.
Yep.
So here is the two-man dance draft for season 9. Part 1 is the pre-draft mind games, and part 2 is the draft itself.
I feel like this year actually is a huge, because this is now the first year after we had a player off the board, which we haven't really spoken about whether or not, I think we want him back in the mix.
100%.
Him being Kelsey. He was off the board last year.
I don't think Kelsey separated enough to be off the board.
I agree. That was kind of a, look, we're not above being reactionaries in the two men.
Right.
So I feel like there was a couple of seasons in a row also where having Kelsey just almost made it damn near impossible to make up those points anywhere else.
The peak crazy year he had, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yes.
And there was a bigger point difference between him and the number 2 tight end than there was between like the number 2 and the number 26.
Yes.
You had to completely annihilate the other person at every other position to have a chance.
Right. And I don't know, you know what? I'm just going to, again, this is just all floating out there as we tend to do last minute. We don't have to make a call on this, but I would say McCaffrey might fall into this category. The only difference is that he's a running back, so it's like.
But here's what we decided on last year, because I had him. It's not fair for one person to have them during their crazy season and then remove them so the other player doesn't have a chance to do the same thing.
That's right. That's right. It's a gentleman's league. It's a vibes league. It's a gentleman's league. This is kind of how we went with Kelsey, too. The reason we were comfortable sidelining Kelsey is because you had him for a couple years, but then I had him, and I won.
Exactly.
And so then we were kind of like, all right, we both got we got all the juice from that Kelsey, and there was the whole Taylor Swift-Kelsey circus. We're like, let's just sideline him. We don't need these distractions in two-man. Where I don't think I've ever had McCaffrey. Have I?
No, you've avoided McCaffrey at all costs.
And I want to avoid him again, but now I feel the pressure to take him.
I know. I mean,
I have to. How can it not be McCaffrey?
I mean, I'm fascinated, though, because on one level, how could it not? On another level, I just kind of can't picture you doing it.
I know. And I don't want to do it.
I think this is
why I don't want
This is the main reason you want him off the board. You don't want to deal with.
I just want to wave him off. Every season, I say, it's the end of McCaffrey. At some point, I have to acknowledge, one, that he's maybe one of the great running backs in the history of the game, which is hard to say out loud, but I think is true.
There's been like 3 seasons where he's just been head and shoulders above everyone else.
Everyone. And volume, with volume too. The reason, you're right. I want McCaffrey the hell out of this conversation because I can't punt on him, because if you don't take him at 2, now we're already getting into our mind games here. If you didn't take him at 2, then I'm like, wait a minute. What does Tom know that I don't know? And
sure.
then we get into a game, which we have a game of chicken of some form or fashion every fucking draft. It always comes up where it's like, whether it's the hands v feet, whether it's like who takes the first quarterback. But yeah, I think for like with McCaffrey, I think it's going to be that he could be one of those games of chicken. If I don't take him at 1, I almost feel like I've gotten in my own head.
I mean, who else would you take,
At 1. Well, honestly, that is the other thing. I have people, I'm not going to start saying names out loud here, but I, of course, have people that I love, that I'm, into this draft. But
I know who the people are.
You know who they are. We all know the people. I would say there's probably 2 or 3. I could justify 3 picks for me at number 1. So, that's why I might entertain a trade talk with you for the number 1 pick in this 2-man.
I'm open to that.
I mean, I don't know what it means. Does it mean does it mean I get a 1 round of a snake? Does it mean I get the 2-3 pick and you get the 1? How much do you love McCaffrey? We would isolate the first 3 picks. Okay. All right.
I don't want to let you off the hook.
No, but that tells me something. That tells me your thoughts on McCaffrey.
No, it doesn't.
It most certainly does.
No.
If you knew McCaffrey was going to be last year, if he was going to repeat last year, you would take that trade.
No, because why would I give you something to take McCaffrey when I know there's at least a 50% chance that you don't take him? At least. You don't want to take him. Why would I give you something to let you do what you already want to do, which is not take him?
I know. Well, I hear you, though. You don't want him off your hands. I think for you, he would be an auto pick for number 1. I don't think you would have any thought whatsoever at taking McCaffrey again.
I have no comment about that at this time.
Let's have a frank talk. He's going to take a step back, so I don't think he warrants a number 1 pick.
So just don't take him.
Here's the problem with that, though. I don't want McCaffrey. I'll say that. Listen, we're going to go frank. We're going to be honest.
It's very clear
I don't want
Christian
McCaffrey.
No.
I don't want him.
No.
I have no use for him. So you might say, well, why not just not draft him with the first position then, right? You might say that. But I can't give you him at 2 is the problem. So if I could...
It's a real predicament.
It is. It's kind of the worst year. Frankly, it's the worst year. If we are being honest with each other, and I think we should be.
Right.
This is the worst year for me to have number 1.
Wait. But okay. Are you just suggesting you're going to...
I snake for the first round, and then we're back to normal.
For free?
Yes.
So you're just suggesting you're just going to give me the first pick.
And whatever you do with it, I have 2, 3, and then...
I got to say, I don't like this. It feels like here's the thing. This kind of goes back
feels like a trap.
This feels like a complete trap.
Do I have... I might have the minerals to try and set it. Do I have the cunning to get you in a trap? I don't think you believe that.
This is absolutely.
You think I'm savvy enough to get the great Midland City in a trap?
This is a two-man dance trap. It absolutely is.
My traps are big and sloppy, Tom.
It's exactly what we were talking about. I think if I just accept this deal, here's the thing. Hypothetically, I'm not saying what I'm going to do.
Sure.
Let's say you pass on McCaffrey, and then I take McCaffrey. Versus, we do this thing. First
of all, there's no if there. There's an if I don't take him, but there's no if whether you take him at
It's
2.
an if. It's an if. So it's an if.
I thought we were speaking frankly.
You pass on him, and I take him. Now you've passed on this player that was head and shoulders above everyone else last year. If we switch, and I take him 1, suddenly I feel like karmically that's not good for me. Does that make sense? Taking him at 2 feels like it's got some good mojo.
It doesn't make sense, but it feels right.
Doing this switch, I just feel like it's. It feels karmically bad in some way.
It's bruised. It's a little bit. You're picking up a bruised peach here. I would agree, but I wouldn't touch it. But here's the thing. That's why I'm saying let's make it clean. Let's make it clean. Let's make it clean.
Here's a question. Why? What's the difference?
All right.
If you're not going to take him anyway, and you're convinced I'm going to take him too, what's the difference?
Because I still need to be holding the wheel to make this turn. I can't just give you the wheel.
And you're absolutely right. That is.
If I want to crash into a fucking brick wall, I need to be behind the steering wheel.
You're 1,000% right. It's a big difference. You're right. Because the other way you haven't passed on him. This way you've passed.
This way I have.
Why would I alleviate you of that?
Because you want him bad enough.
Maybe I don't want him that bad.
Here's where I think I can see why you're running into why this isn't an automatic, where you would see the trap here. Maybe it's too much. I'm getting too much in return by immediately getting a snake that high up in the draft. So what if we said I get a snake later at a later point? We trade that first pick. Right? You have the number 1 pick. I have number 2. What if we do the snake 1 round later? So you get the first pick, the 3rd pick, and I get the 2nd and the 4th, but then I get the 5th. And we're back to 5, 6, 7. You know what I'm saying?
So
you get 1 and 4.
Okay.
Sorry, 1 and 3. Excuse me. You get 1 and 3.
I get 1 and 3.
But then I get 2, 4, 5.
I see.
And then you get 6, then I get 7, you get 8, I get 9. And then we go the same way. I am the odd numbers then the rest of the way. If I didn't bring it in the room with me here, but I'll tell you, I have a notepad that literally the only thing I wrote down so far for this year was the McCaffrey problem, ? That's the one thing I've written down so far for this year's dance, just so you know.
You know, I got to say, it feels more fun to not do this to me.
Feels more fun to not do, which I respect as a reason because we've always want to keep the fun factor high. Well, now I must, but now I must take him because the answer to the McCaffrey problem is either a wheeling and dealing or I'm taking him.
Take him.
Okay. I hope this isn't just a game of chicken because we will both crash and burn.
No, we'll see what happens.
All right. I don't know why you wouldn't do the snake. I even offered to bump it around. The more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm like, why wouldn't you do this?
You've already told me, basically, you're not taking McCaffrey. The premise of this is I want the first pick to get McCaffrey.
I have not told you I'm not taking him.
You have.
I have not.
I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying the premise of this is that you don't want to.
I don't want to.
You've told me that you don't want to.
But what I want and what I must do are two different things.
I totally respect that. But you don't want to. We've never done the snake thing, and giving you 2 picks in a row that early.
Sure. I'll say
right?
that. I will say that this spring, yeah, but listen. That's why I didn't float this on draft day.
Perhaps the top 2 at a position go off the board in that moment.
Listen, I know that a snake.
Now that I just said that, I can't.
A snake in our Garden of Eden here it adds an element.
I can't give you the snake. It's a trap.
I agree. The snake. I mean, frankly, we're going frank here. I would say the snake would throw shit even in the mix that I'm not ready for, even as the benefactor of the snake. So I do think that you're right. There's no need to bring a snake in just yet. We're only at year 9. No need to bring in a snake just yet. But after the first 4 picks, just be prepared because I will be taking him at 1. I will be. I'll tell you that right now.
Come on.
I'm shaking with the breeze. I'm shaking
You're
with
going
the
to try
breeze.
to unleash that.
No, there's no. Hey, you said it, not me.
After all this hemming and hawing. I don't even know if you take him at 3.
Well, he's not going to be there at 3. If
Let's just
either
say
I
he
take
is.
him or you take him.
Let's just say he is.
Oh, but
I don't even know.
say.
I'm serious. I don't know if you would.
Let's say he'll be there at 12. Let's just say he'll be there at 12. I mean, who knows? With the first pick in the 2024 two-man dance draft,
there's no way.
Big Sloppy Naturals.
I don't see
selects.
it. I don't see it happening. It doesn't feel like you.
It doesn't. Just prepare for it is all I'm saying.
After our first 4 picks, I will give you my full truth.
All truths will be revealed. Oh, God. Or you'll give me the perfect truth that is to plant for the next 4 picks.
That's true. I guess maybe
I know how you maneuver.
Post-draft, I'll give you my full truth.
Listen, this ain't our first rodeo. It's our 9th. I've learned a few things.
I love the this is, I feel like, year 2, though, of the we've never discussed the draft going into it in any capacity.
No. You should be tight-lipped.
Very tight-lipped.
But then again, it feels like, listen, it's one thing to sit silent at a full poker table. But when you're playing heads up, you're not going to just sit there in silence.
No, it's more fun to get into the mind games.
Much more fun. Much more fun. All will be revealed.
Yes, in approximately 1 week's time.
Yes.